This is the lesson, the illustration project part 2. Now, in the last lesson, you developed your thumbnail sketches for Thoreau's Walden passage. And today I want you to start exploring ways you can take those thumbnails further. Today we're going to talk about the large masses and organizing the large masses in order to give the right emotive context that you're after. I have this sketch, this preliminary sketch by Andrew Wyeth of a farmhouse here. So let's look at this and talk about it. Wyeth organizes the large masses. He has obviously the house. There's this undefined foreground. There's also this small area in the background that's also a space. And obviously we're going to take for granted that the sky is there. All right. So I did a little sketch of the farmhouse here, and what I mean by the large masses is I don't want to get into the chimney or details on the roof. I want a sense that there's this larger mass of a certain value. Okay? That's the general mass of the house. All right? There's also the mass of the cast shadows, which can go right into the house. Here's one here. Okay? So that mass is unified. Then there's the mass of this pine tree with a barrel and a sense of the distant landscape in the back. There's this undefined mass of the grass and the undefined mass of the sky. Okay? So I want you to start thinking of these larger masses, their shapes, their value, and how they're organized. So let's look at these sketches over here. There's two different books here. There's Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, and down here is Charles Baudelaire's The Flowers of Evil. Now these illustrations were rendered by Edward Manet. And you can see that, let's look at this one right here. He organizes the general mass of everything in the most briefest and simplest technique. Okay? Here's a top hat in a chair near a table. Okay, so we have the chair, the top hat, the table, and a general value for the background. Here's our chair, very briefly sketched, very no-tonish, and then the cast shadow of a raven passing by the window. Very, very inventive, very brilliant composition. And here again, here's an interior of the same poem. The raven is up on the head of a sculpture, a Greek sculpture, and the main character is looking up at it. So there's a sense of the raven on the sculpture as a mass, the mass of the wall, and then in the foreground, the main character. These illustrations here are from, like I said, The Flowers of Evil, and they were rendered by Auguste Rodin, French. You can see here, in this figure with a man with a python, these dark shapes of the masses surrounding the figure, and the three-dimensional quality of the figure coming forward as a light mass. Here again, simplicity of the two figures and the background. And here in this drawing, I've included this one because Rodin gets a sense of the mass of these figures in the background and merging and emerging from the background with a variation of lines to achieve mass. Okay, so that's always a possibility too. Although on this project, I think we're going to concentrate on using washes with some rendering involved in pencil. And then lastly, let's talk about our assignment. Your assignment is going to be to take one of your thumbnails, or possibly two, it's up to you, and you're going to depict one of the masses, the major masses. In this illustration, I'm considering what kind of foliage background that I'm going to have, okay, and how that's going to be placed against the ground plane, which is more forward. All right, so I've done a pencil sketch of the values that I was interested in, the direction of the light, which we can tell by the cast shadows, and then I rendered it in some washes to consider color for this illustration. Okay, so this is what I want you to do. This drawing could be on top, this could be on the bottom, it doesn't matter what position, except that I want your page to be vertical. And this is the effect that we're going to get with our finished illustration. We're eventually going to overlay our text onto the illustration. And then you can see the interface between the layers. Okay?